One message ruined everything. I knew something was wrong before I ever saw the message. It happened in a moment so small that, at first, I almost ignored it. Her phone vibrated on the kitchen table, and without even looking at the screen, she said, "Just leave it. If it's him, I'll answer later." She didn't hesitate. She didn't ask who it was. She didn't even glance at the phone. She said him as if that word already had a meaning between us. As if there was someone in her life whose presence was so normal, so expected, that no explanation was necessary. I stood there holding my coffee mug, the steam rising slowly, my mind completely blank. The kettle was making noise behind me, filling the room with sound, but inside my head everything went silent. I looked at the phone. The screen lit up for less than a second. That was all it took. Last night was a mistake, but I want it again. I stared at the words, convinced my brain had misread them. I read the sentence again, slower this time, hoping the meaning would somehow change if I gave it more time. It didn't. My chest didn't tighten the way people describe in movies. My heart didn't race. Instead, I felt empty. Like someone had removed something vital from inside me and left behind a hollow space. She was still at the counter, calmly slicing a lemon. Her movements were relaxed, almost peaceful. She looked exactly the same as she always did. And that terrified me. Because if someone can look that calm when a message like that appears on their phone, it isn't an accident. It's a pattern. I put the phone back where it was without saying a word. I took a sip of my coffee even though it tasted wrong, like my body was already rejecting the reality my mind hadn't accepted yet. In that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her immediately. I wasn't going to ask questions she could lie her way out of. I was going to find the truth. Because deep down, I already knew it was there. We had been together for almost 3 years. Not the kind of relationship people brag about online, but the kind that feels solid. Quiet. Real. We had routines. Shared habits. Jokes that didn't make sense to anyone else. She was the person I felt comfortable being silent with. And if you've ever had that kind of connection, you know how rare it is. Silence doesn't feel awkward. It feels safe. That's why the warning signs didn't feel like warnings at the time. Or maybe I did see them, but I gave them different explanations because the truth felt too heavy. She started laughing less at my jokes. I told myself she was stressed. She started spending more time on her phone. I told myself work was demanding. She began replying to messages under the blanket at night, turning slightly away from me. I told myself I was imagining things. Because trust has a strange way of protecting itself. It convinces you that doubt is the enemy, not the warning. The changes were subtle at first. She would take longer to reply to texts. She'd cancel plans last minute. She started dressing differently for simple errands. None of it was enough to accuse her of anything. But together, they created a quiet unease I couldn't ignore anymore. After that morning in the kitchen, I stopped dismissing the feeling. I didn't turn into a detective. I didn't spy. I didn't interrogate her. I just paid attention. I noticed how her mood shifted when certain notifications came in. How she smiled in a way that felt unfamiliar. How she talked about friends without using names. She still told me she loved me every night. That was the part that hurt the most. The normality. Days passed. Then weeks. The message replayed in my mind constantly. I tried to convince myself there was an explanation I hadn't considered. Some context I was missing. Until one night, when everything finally collapsed. She fell asleep on the couch with the TV still on. The room was dim, filled with soft light and quiet dialogue from whatever show was playing. Her phone was resting loosely in her hand. I sat there for a long time, staring at her. I knew that once I picked up that phone, there was no going back. Whatever I found would change everything. But not knowing was worse. I gently took the phone from her hand. She didn't move. The screen unlocked immediately. She never changed her password. That detail hurt more than I expected. It felt careless. Like she never imagined I would look. Like she never imagined consequences. The messages were all there. Weeks of conversations. Flirting disguised as humor. Complaints about feeling trapped. About wanting to feel alive again. And then, the confirmation I couldn't deny. Plans. Shared moments. Photos. Nothing explicit. Nothing graphic. But intimate enough to erase any doubt. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a relationship. I sat there in the dark, holding her phone, listening to her breathe evenly beside me. She slept peacefully, like someone with nothing to hide. I felt like I was sitting next to a stranger. I put the phone back exactly where it had been and went to bed. I didn't sleep at all. Morning came too quickly. She woke up smiling, kissed my cheek, and asked if I wanted breakfast. Her voice was warm and familiar. I watched her move around the kitchen, completely normal, completely calm, acting like my entire world hadn't just shattered. I asked her one question. Is there anything you want to tell me? She paused for just a second. Then smiled. No. Why? That smile hurt more than the message. I told her I knew. At first, she denied everything. Said I was imagining things. Said I was overreacting. Said I had invaded her privacy. Then I said his name. Her face changed instantly. Not guilt. Not shame. Fear. That was when the truth started to unravel. She said it just happened. She said it didn't mean anything. She said she was confused. She said she didn't want to lose me. She cried. I felt nothing. Because the worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was realizing how easily she lied. How naturally she switched between versions of herself. How comfortable she was pretending everything was fine. I asked how long it had been going on. She couldn't answer. That told me everything. I packed my things that same day. No yelling. No insults. No dramatic exit. She followed me around the apartment, apologizing, promising it was over, saying we could fix it. But trust doesn't break loudly. It breaks quietly. And once it's gone, it doesn't come back. I left. The messages started almost immediately. Calls. Texts. Long apologies. Short regrets. Promises to change. I didn't reply. The silence hurt, but it was honest. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I replayed memories, wondering which moments were real and which were lies. I questioned my instincts. My judgment. Myself. But slowly, something changed. I started sleeping better. Breathing easier. Feeling like myself again. I realized that losing her hurt, but staying would have destroyed me. Sometimes I think about that moment in the kitchen. About how close I was to ignoring the phone. About how easy it would have been to choose comfort over truth. I'm glad I didn't. Because one message ruined everything. But it also saved me. What would you have done in my place? Confront immediately, or stay silent and find the truth first?